Okay, so this is our, I guess, senior class presidential interview, considering that we have Gokul here who is running unopposed, and we have Dylan Jensen and Angela Villanueva here to speak to Gokul. I want to say thank you to Ms. Ennis for having the Devil's Advocate host and work on this debate. So Gokul, if you want to give us a quick intro about yourself and your platform, and then we'll get started.
All right, yeah, sounds good. First off, I want to thank you guys for adapting to all of this and continue with the interviews and stuff like that. I feel like that's really important for all positions and stuff like that. Well, yeah, I'm Gokul. I'm running for senior class president. I was surprised that I was unopposed, which is pretty cool. Yeah, well, my platform, I kind of kept it pretty short this year. Main thing is I wanted to have senior takeover when we get back to school. That was the number one on my platform. And I also want to have a senior video that I do next year. It's going to consist of pep rally footage and it's going to consist of pep rally footage and any other class events that we've had together. And then the last thing on my platform is a 10-year reunion. I feel like that's really important for any class to have. And I feel like that responsibility lies on the class officers. So that's something I'd really prioritize after graduation, because it'd be pretty cool to see where everyone goes and how everyone takes the journey after graduation. And another thing on my platform was I want to have a job fair. So it'll be designed just like club fair, except we'd bring employers from all over Jacksonville to bring their experience, their expertise, and their internship opportunities and stuff like that. I know John Wright tried to do that in previous years or something like that, but it didn't end up happening. So I was gonna prioritize that and have that happen this year. So yeah.
Awesome. So now I'm going to let Dylan and Angela take it away, and I'll, I guess, pop in every now and then. If responses start to get a little long-winded, I have my little bell that we usually have at these debates.
All right.
So, yeah, take it away, you guys.
All right. Well, this is kind of a different venue than what we usually have because you are running opposed. So I think the first question should be, how does it feel to run unopposed for senior class president?
To be honest, it's an honor. It feels like, I guess no one wanted to run against me. I feel really honored and humbled by that. In no way am I egotistic about it. I was really surprised. I was on a call with my friends and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So it was pretty cool, just to see. Hello?
All right, Angela, you
have
your question?
I think we might be having some technical difficulties. Angela, is your mic working? There's a first time for everything. Girl, we cannot hear you.
Uh-oh.
It's breaking.
Okay, now it says good. So now try to... Okay, well, while Angela figures that out, Dylan will just continue ahead.
Okay, so the next question is, what was your motivation for really running for class president again? Why did you want to continue being class president?
Well, I feel like just the experiences throughout this year was so amazing for me. I had a lot of great experiences with junior class office, and I've been passionate about class office ever since freshman year. Even after losing sophomore year, I was kind of still really passionate. I came to all the meetings and helped out with pep rally stuff and stuff like that. So it's definitely a passion for me, and I feel like it's really important. It was important to me that I ran again and tried to I don't know, bring a difference to stand. I want to use senior class president as a platform to not just do the normal stuff of any officer, but I wanted to introduce a new project or a tradition or something like that that would be remembered for decades after we graduate. So that was pretty much my main passion for running.
So are there any other previous class officers or SGA leaders that have influenced you and your positions and what you want to do for the student body?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was in 8th grade, I was already pretty intrigued with leadership at Stanton and stuff like that. Anthony Paul, he's one of my family friends, and it was amazing to see all the stuff he's done for the school and his leadership and stuff like that. So he was definitely like probably my first inspiration for getting involved. And that was probably like that's pretty much the main reason I ran for freshman class president. And after that, Jack LaGoy was a huge inspiration to me. Shubber, the senior class president of 2018, he was really helpful when I was in freshman office. So that's another thing. Like I feel like it's really important for a senior class president to be kind of a figure for other class officers as well, like underclassmen and stuff like that. Because I know when I was a freshman in office, it was really hard to figure out where everything was like going and like how to do anything. So like Shubber was really helpful back then to me. So I want to make sure I give back as well, and I'm helpful to other officers like underclassmen, because I know it's hard when you come into office and like you don't really know what's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's one thing. In past years, those are pretty much my two main inspirations. Vedant, my running mate, has also been a huge inspiration to me. Like just seeing all the hard work he's done over the years, and like his passion for the classes, like his work ethic and everything. It's really inspiring to me. So that's another inspiring figure I have.
All right, Angela, did you get your mic to work? Oh.
Girl, we cannot hear you. It's like we can see your mouth moving, but we can't hear you.
Maybe she can put it in the chat.
Oh yeah, we can try that. I don't know if it shows up on the recording though, so.
Maybe not. Yeah.
I don't know. Usually, whenever it doesn't work for me, I just hop on my phone because I have the Teams app.
Okay. Well, I'll just keep going while Angela figures out the microphone situation. So, how do you plan to work with your fellow class officers? Because that was one thing you previously talked about in that last question.
Well, I feel like the model I've had for the past few years, like in class office, has been pretty effective. Usually, like communication is what I usually like prioritize in any office. So I usually like first start off with a group chat with all the officers, and like we've had a lot of bonding opportunities and stuff like that with junior class officers, and we've gotten like pretty close. I don't know, did that. Just like we usually go out to dinner the day before pep rally just to make sure like everything's set and we're on the same page. So just stuff like that. I feel like it's been pretty effective over the past few years. And that's probably something I would definitely continue. As well as a group chat with the class sponsors as well. That's really important. So yeah, that's it.
All right. So, what are some other leadership experiences from outside of Stanton and that you've been a part of, and how have they prepared you to be senior class president?
So I'd say the main outside school opportunity I've had with leadership is the Mayor's Young Leaders Advisory Council. I recently got admitted to that this year in like January, and it's been amazing. Like I've never had any opportunity like that before, because it's a group of like 30 kids from all over, like from many different high schools and like many different backgrounds and stuff, and we all come together, and it's not necessarily like directly with the mayor, but it's definitely a sector of like city of Jacksonville, something like that. And basically we worked on different projects. Like we've split our committee up into different like subcommittees. So I was the president of the mental health committee, and we had a bunch of like different projects we were working on. And unfortunately, they didn't like end up happening because of COVID-19 and stuff like that. So we've been looking for alternatives, but it was definitely a huge opportunity for me, because I was able to like they don't usually like make decisions and stuff like that in like an informal way. It's more of like a like you have to stand and you have to like second the motion and stuff like that. So it's an experience I've never had before, and it was really important that like I was able to like have that experience and like figure out how like actual politics works and stuff like that. So like if I applied that to class office, I'd say the main takeaway from that would just be making sure like everyone's point is made across like very clearly. I feel like that's like a very important skill to have, like to make sure like, and for any leader to make sure that like they know exactly what the other person is trying to say and like hear them. So yeah, that's probably my main takeaway from that organization.
Yeah, so from all of your different leadership roles, what does being a leader mean to you? And how would you embody this definition as senior class president?
Well, being a leader to me, I think it's more of being able to like take other people's ideas. I'm sorry. Being able to take other people's ideas and kind of make a compromise or like create a platform in which other people can voice their opinion and a way to make the majority happy is what I feel like a leader is. And like also listening is a really important thing for any leader, listening and communication. So those are two things I'd really focus on. I usually do that for any leadership position, and over the years it's definitely been like a growth factor for me. I've been able to learn how to listen more, learn how to communicate better. I can definitely see like the growth in myself from freshman year to this year. Just like the experiences I've had along the way has been really helpful, and also the people that I've worked with are like a big factor in like the growth that I've experienced in that way.
So, what are some other plans that you have to like bring the class together, as well as the entire student body? Like you were talking about communication. Could you elaborate some more on some plans you have in regards to that?
Yeah, so my running mate Vedant, he's running for SGA president, and whoever wins for SGA president, I feel like it's a really important thing to have effective communication between all the classes as well as SGA. Because I know when I was a freshman in office, the SGA president at the time was Jack Lagoy, and he did a good job of making sure we had like meetings with all class officers from all of Stanton to make sure like everyone's on the same page, like to share ideas and stuff like that. So I found that really effective. It's just that in past years it's been less and less frequent. So I think bridging the gap between class office and SGA and the student body is really important, and it's something that's been kind of lacking in the past few years because there's no like real direct communication that a lot of people are comfortable with from the student body to SGA or to the class offices and stuff like that. So that's definitely a point I would like to like act upon because like the bridge between the student body and like class offices and SGA is really important to me.
All right, Angela, is it working this time?
Can you hear me?
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So to you, what differentiates your office between SGA?
Well, I definitely think SGA is a lot more of like the entire school, obviously, and senior class. I still think that senior class has a part in uniting the entire school because the senior class president is kind of like I said, like a figure for other class offices and other officers and stuff like that, like the freshman president, sophomore president, and all of those officers. Um, and Yeah, like the main difference is like the projects that I would be working on versus the projects that an SGA office would be working on would differ in that I feel like the SGA office would probably include the entirety of the school. However, I feel like the projects that I work on this year, I want to transition it into kind of like a collaboration between SGA and all the offices rather than just having like, oh, like the junior class office is working on this project, like let's help them. It should be more of like a collaborative effort between everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, so going off of that, really, what are some like specific plans? Do you have any specific plans for how you would work with SGA to, yeah, just work with them in general this upcoming year?
Yeah, so I mentioned job fair earlier, and that's definitely something we'll need SGA's help on because it's. I mean, I'm pretty sure club fair has a part with SGA as well, and I want to model a job fair just like club fair. So I want this to benefit like not just seniors and not just like upperclassmen in general. I want it to be pretty much everyone at the school to benefit off of job fair because it's really important for people to like gain job experience and internship experience while in high school because it'll be really helpful for their future. So that's one thing. Another thing I want to have like a collaboration between SGA and like all the offices on is voter registration day. I know that was really successful this year, and I really love that. But unfortunately, I feel like there's a lot of people that maybe missed out on it, or some people that just didn't do it in general. So I feel like it's important to have like another voter registration day in either September or October, just to make sure like people are pre-registered or people are like registering to vote. And yeah, I feel like it was really effective this year. And John Wright, he was the leader of it, and he did a really great job with like all the handling of it. And he made sure to document his whole process. And he told me that he would be giving me his like whole package on how he did everything and like the contact information. So that would definitely be really helpful in making that happen. So yeah, that would definitely be a SGA collaborative effort with like senior office and all the offices.
Okay. So in your online platform with Vedant, you mentioned having a postponed senior takeover the week the rising seniors return to school. What impact do you think that tradition will have on the senior class by moving it to the beginning of the school year?
Yeah, so there's still some talks about us not being able to go back to school, like in, I don't know, some people were saying we might not go back till spring or might not go back till like, I don't know, December. So like, since we just don't know when we're going back, I still think it's important just to have that comfortability and like saying that we're going to take over the courtyard when we get back. It's kind of like a symbolic thing to me and to others in my class. And it's really important that like I like try my best to make that happen. And like of course, if there's like health reasons and stuff like that, and if we never get back to school, I mean, there'd be like there's different variables that go into it, but it's definitely an effort worth putting in effort for.
Yeah, so since you were talking about like the different variables involved, do you have any plans in place in case the fall semester is canceled due to the coronavirus?
Yeah, so if the fall semester is canceled, well, physically canceled, I would say there's like so many different projects that we could work on just with social distancing. One thing I was trying to do this year was like a project for the seniors for the class of 2020. I called it Project J2S. It didn't turn out that successful yet, but we're still working on it. It's basically where I wanted every junior to send a video of them, like a 5-second clip of them saying something nice to the seniors, like "we'll miss you" or like "we'll like congratulations," like "thank you for everything you've done to stand," stuff like that. And like it was going to be a huge compilation with like all like 300 juniors, but unfortunately we got like 10 videos. I'll definitely have to and stuff like that, but that's like just one example of like a project we can work on. I'm really into video editing and photography and stuff like that, so that's definitely a platform we can use through social distancing and stuff like that. So yeah.
Right. So how do you plan on keeping ideas like that for Stan realistic?
Are you talking about ideas like the videos and stuff like that?
Just like any ideas for your platform.
Yeah, so like some of the stuff I was talking about, like job fair voter registration, like if we're not physically in school, I'm sure that we can think of different ways to implement that, such as like a drive-through type of thing. We were thinking of having like a drive-through prom this year, but unfortunately that can't happen as well. So there's like, I feel like it's a case-by-case basis based on what project we're working on. Like if it's job fair, I feel like that can happen anytime during the year. So whenever we come back to school physically, that's definitely something I'd want to do, as well as takeover, and even voter registration. Even though like if the election has passed, I feel like it's still something that's important to do. If a lot of people are interested, I feel like we could still pull off a voter registration, just for future years and stuff like that. So I definitely feel like there's multiple projects we can work on, even if we're social distancing throughout the fall and the winter. And it's not going to be like oh, if we're not going back to school, like all these ideas are canceled. You know what I mean? Like I think it's important that we still stay active as class officers and SGA officers and stuff like that.
So how do you plan to continue to be in communication with your class of 2021? Even if the fall semester is canceled in person, those in-person classes. Like, how do you plan to keep that communication going?
Yeah, so we always have a class remind, and that's been our main focus of communication every year. And so for senior year, we would definitely have a new class remind just for people who are dropping out or for people who are moving away and stuff like that. So that would be something we would put in the teams if we're not coming back for the fall semester, or if we come back, like we usually do it at the school assembly for the class. We make sure everyone joins the remind. And we still have an active class Instagram that will also be a way to get out information about the Remind and other information regarding class office and like just school announcements and stuff like that. So we have like good platforms in place for communication, whether or not we go back to school.
Okay. So how have challenges from your previous years as class president prepared you for your senior class president? Did Dylan ask this already? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So I think the main thing that I've learned over the years is communication. That effective communication to the class as well as the class sponsors and the officers. I feel like everyone like there's no such thing as a bad idea, and I feel like making sure everyone's heard is really important. I know that sounds cheesy, but like making sure everyone has like a platform to give their opinion, whether or not they have one, is really important. Like even freshman year, I was really adamant on having like polls sent out after or before and after every pep rally to make sure like people have like a way to give feedback and like tell us what we're doing wrong, tell us what we're doing right. So that's definitely something I'll continue this year. And as well as like as far as the class sponsors, like I said, like having a group chat with the class sponsors and the officers is really important because we don't want anything to like be missed between us and like to go past us. So I think it's really important to have like that form of communication. And like just so that we don't like spam our sponsors, like I think it's important to have like just the officers in a group chat too. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so how do you plan to work with the school administration and the teachers and just Stanton staff in general? How do you plan to bridge that gap between administration and students?
So even in junior year, I think that's a good question. I think in like while we've been social distancing and being in school online through Teams, we've made sure to see if any teachers had like any important announcements that we send it out through the Remind. I remember there was one incident where a specific teacher wanted us to send a important announcement to the entire class regarding their class, and it was like really essential. So we made sure to send that out. Like, oh, if you're in this class, make sure to remember this. So just stuff like that is really important. I feel like some teachers might not have like an effective way of communicating directly, like instantly with the class, and that's an important platform that we have to Remind. So that's definitely something we'll continue to like help if we can provide help. So yeah.
Okay. So what are some weaknesses you have and how would you work on them to be an effective leader?
Some weaknesses I have, I still think my communication skills aren't 100% effective. And I think that's something I can improve on every single day of my life. Like even when I'm like 80 years old, like communication is never going to be perfect. And that's something I'll definitely work on improving as well. Just because like sometimes between class officers or between class sponsors, like people might not want to like speak their mind, or people might like leave out information and stuff like that. So I feel like the main thing that I want to work on this year is making sure everyone's comfortable with each other, because that's an important factor that goes into communication. Because if you're comfortable, then you're going to be able to communicate better.
Okay.
All right. So what is one of the toughest experiences that you've had to encounter in a leadership position, and what have you learned from that experience?
So I don't know, when you said that, I immediately thought of this experience freshman year through freshman class office. We had a huge class debate over our t-shirt, our first class t-shirt. And it was like divide between one t-shirt had to do with 21 Savage, because like 21, class of 21, and then one t-shirt was like a basic like nice design. So our class was like torn about that, and like it was so challenging because like we had just been elected as officers and we didn't know what to do. So one thing we did was we asked our teachers that we're comfortable with just for advice. And well, yeah, another thing is like we made sure to have a vote anyways, but the votes were also split. So that was also an issue. So it wasn't exactly split, but we made sure to like kind of compromise and say like, okay, we can make this like the basic shirt, the the official class shirt, and then we can use 21 Savage as our winter pep rally banner. So we kind of just had like a give and take type of scenario there. So that's probably like the biggest or one of the biggest like challenges I had, even though it seems like really small. I feel like it was a growing opportunity for me, and like making sure like, because I learned that you can never make everyone happy. And that's probably something that's like really important for any leader to know. Like you can't make every single person happy, and it's important to have like compromise in any leadership position. So in terms of like challenge, I feel like that's the biggest challenge that kind of like taught me the most, I'd say.
All right. How will you respond to criticism as a president?
I think I've taken criticism pretty well over the years. Like I want people to tell me if we're doing something wrong or if they want something changed. So criticism isn't something I really had any issues with. And I don't see myself having issues in the future as well, because I feel like our office this year didn't like, they were really good about like receiving criticism, and we made sure to like ask people for criticism as well, like even our friends or like group chats and stuff like that, just like, hey, like what do you want to see in class office, and like Google Forms, that's something we use for criticism as well. So that's definitely not something I would discontinue for senior class office.
Okay. So how would you apply the Ubuntu philosophy into your presidency, since it is a big part of our school?
Yeah, for sure. Ubuntu, it's something that I've lived by, I guess, for the like ever since high school, and Ms. Majo has had a huge impact on me in that way. For me, Ubuntu means like I don't, let me think. The main thing like I think about with Ubuntu is we don't want to be spreading hate in our class. So we want everyone to love each other, and if anyone has an issue, there has to be a mature way of like expressing that issue. So that's definitely something that I would like connect with communication, because I feel like communication kind of directly like links to human kindness and expressing kindness and like expressing like your ideas in a mature and like reasonable way. So like throughout the year, like we make sure that like if there's any issues or if there's any problems, like it's handled in a really mature and like reasonable way.
Okay. So we've talked about Vedant, but what are you looking for in a senior class vice president?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I feel like you were breaking a little bit.
Okay. So we've already talked about Vedant, but what are you looking for in your senior class vice president?
Yeah, so I feel like it's definitely something I've thought about over the past few weeks. There's just the fact that Vedant's been my vice president every time I'm in class office, and since he's moving on to SGA or running for a SGA position, it'll be different having a new vice president, because I feel like the relationship between a president and vice president is really key, because I've always bounced all my ideas off of Vedant, and also all the other class officers for sure. And we've just kind of been each other's right hand man. In the senior class vice president, I would expect someone who's just as passionate as I am, and just as I'm not sure what the word is, just as like putting the same amount or more effort, because I feel like effort's like the main thing that goes into class office. Like if you're not going to show effort, then like we can't make projects happen. We can't like do important stuff for pep rallies or important stuff for any project for that matter. So I feel like showing that effort and showing that initiative is really important. So that's probably what I'd look for mostly in a senior class vice president.
Okay. So how do you plan to improve the school? And I guess going back to the question about the Ubuntu philosophy, how are you going to promote that as class president when stuff like class rivalries are still pretty prominent at Stanford?
Yeah, so for sure, I feel like just the pep rally culture is kind of like class rivalries and stuff like that. So I wanted to work with SGA and making a new tradition for pep rallies. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, but a new tradition in which it's not exactly a like a non-competitive side of it. Like of course it'll still be competitive because it's so fun, but I wanted to have like a part of the pep rally or like an aspect of the pep rally that kind of like unites people from all classes. And I know we have that with like all the performances and stuff like that, but I wanna have like a collaborative effort between all the class offices and SGA that we try to pull off for pep rallies and other school events for that matter too.
Okay. So we've talked about your plans for Stanton. Do you think you'll be able to avoid empty promises, and how will you be able to do that?
Well, I think all the ideas on my platform right now have the ability to happen, or if not, they have alternatives that could happen as well. So I don't see any of these promises becoming empty promises. I know I've had like some in the past just because of my misinformation of school rules and stuff like that. Like one example is like freshman year, I thought we could have lunch music every Friday, and that's obviously like not something that can actually happen. So I feel like over the years I've learned to make sure to have promises that can actually happen. So I don't really think anything on my platform right now is something that wouldn't happen, or if it can't happen, it would be due to like a variable that's uncontrollable, like COVID-19.
Krista, did you have a question that you wanted to ask?
I mean, I'm usually kind of like the watcher. Like I usually don't pop in, but I guess I'll chip in a little bit. Gokul, why should the rising seniors trust your judgment?
Well, that's a good question. I feel like my judgment definitely isn't like the 100% correct judgment. It's not always correct, but I think they should be able to trust my leadership ability and my communication skills and my ability to listen. And I think all of those combined should spell. I don't know. I feel like all of this combined like spells a good leader, and that's what I would want them to like trust me in, like my listening ability, communication skills, and stuff like that. So those are definitely the main things that would go into like a good senior class office and an effective senior class office.
So what is one thing that you think will be the hardest part about your position as class president?
Yeah, I think the hardest part of this position is just the fact that, well, not even just this position, but any class office for that matter, is just the fact that there's so many variables that could happen in the next few months. And like the fact that we're campaigning for different ideas right now is just, I feel like it's pretty stressful for a lot of people just because of the fact that we don't know what's going to happen next year. And we don't know exactly like if we're going back to school or not. Or and I know a lot of ideas revolve around the fact that we are going back to school in the fall, and that is my hope for sure, so that we can have all these experiences back and like all the opportunities and the projects that we can work on. So yeah.
Gokul, how would you describe yourself in 3 words, and why is that?
3 words. Well, I would say what's the word for good listener? I'm gonna just say good listener is 1 word. I'd say I like to consider myself as humble. I'm not someone who would like brag about like accomplishments or anything, or like sit on like a high pedestal. I feel like I'm pretty humble and down to earth. And the third thing, I do consider myself responsible, and that's definitely like a good quality to have in class office. Like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so actually kind of following up on that responsible characteristic that you named for yourself. Hang on, I just lost the question, sorry. What do you define as the duties and responsibilities of the presidency?
So specifically senior class presidency, a lot of the responsibilities like revolve around graduation. There's a lot of graduation activities that take place. So that's definitely a huge responsibility of senior class office, as well as being able to represent the class. We're graduating in a few months, or in a year. So that's definitely like a huge role to take in like leading the class through this whole journey of senior year. As well as like non-specific to my role as senior class president, but just as a class president, I think it's like a huge responsibility is being able to relay information like to the class, like communication. So like I know there's going to be so many announcements like scholarship opportunities and like graduation like announcements and stuff like that. Like just any senior announcements, that's super important, especially senior year, to get that across to all the seniors. And I know the guidance office does a really good job of that as well. So I want to use like this platform as a way of like projecting like the guidance announcements and stuff like that.
Okay. How do you plan on balancing your priorities as a senior when you're applying for college and all of that, and your presidency?
Yeah, so I think that's definitely something I've been challenged with this year, just because the workload of junior year, and I feel like I've put junior class office first when it needed to be, and then also school first when it needed to be. So like I think just the initiative and effort put in past years kind of shows like how it shows that I will be like pretty good at managing my time. I know there's probably like a lot more things in senior year that I just don't know about, like you may have gone through like all the responsibilities of like signing up for colleges and stuff like that. So I'll definitely be pretty good at dividing like the amount of time and hours that go into both, but it's not going to be like something where I completely just throw away senior class office for just all the other responsibilities I have. Like time management is definitely something that I've grown in over the years.
Well, I think that about concludes our, I guess we'll call it interview, since it's not necessarily a typical debate. So again, want to thank Dylan and Angela for being our little panelists. And again, thank you to Ms. Ennis for having us be a part of this and have us host. Gokul, are there any final words you want to say to the rising seniors, or the voters, I guess you could call them?
Yeah, final words. I would just say I appreciate you trusting me in this position. I'm not going to let you down. And I really hope that we're able to like see each other in the fall and reconnect and have a great senior year.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. And I know
Thank you.
it's been a really weird circumstance, with social distancing, but I'm glad that we are still able to do something like this.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
And everyone have a good rest of your day. And yeah, I guess that's it.
See y'all. Thank you so much.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.